You are going to die. It is a simple sentence, 4 words, but when you hear it, something inside you flinches. You might feel a sudden drop in your stomach. You might feel a tightness in your chest. Or maybe your mind just pushes the thought away instantly, distracting you with something else. Not now, your brain says. That is for later. That is for old people. That is for sick people. I have time. We live in a culture that is obsessed with avoiding this truth. We hide death in hospitals. We use polite words like passed away instead of died. We spend billions of dollars on anti-aging creams, supplements, and surgeries, desperate to pretend that we are immortal. We act as if death is a failure, a mistake, an interruption to the real business of life. But the ancient philosophers saw it differently. They believed that avoiding the thought of death was the greatest mistake a human being could make. They believed that by ignoring the end, we ruin the beginning and the middle. They practiced a discipline called Memento Mori. Remember that you must die. This was not a morbid obsession. It was not about being depressed. It was a tool, a psychological weapon against laziness, against fear, and against triviality. They understood that life is not a solid block of time. It is a leaking bucket. Every second that ticks by is a drop of water that you will never get back. When you truly understand that the bucket is leaking, when you truly feel the weight of your own mortality, everything changes. The petty argument you had with your partner, it vanishes. The fear of asking for a promotion, it disappears. The time you waste scrolling on your phone, it becomes repulsive. Death is not the enemy of life. It is the lens through which life comes into focus. In this video, we are going to look into the face of the one thing we all fear. We are going to explore the psychology of mortality. We are going to see how the Stoics used death to create a life of urgency and meaning. And we are going to show you why thinking about your funeral might just be the secret to enjoying your breakfast. To understand Memento Mori, we have to go back to ancient Rome. Picture a Roman general returning from a massive victory. He is riding a chariot through the streets. The crowd is cheering. Flowers are being thrown. He is being treated like a god. But standing right behind him in the chariot is a slave, and the slave has one job. He whispers into the general's ear over and over again, Memento Mori. Remember, you are mortal. Remember, you will die. Why would they do this? Why ruin the moment of triumph? Because the Romans knew that power and success are drugs. They intoxicate you. They make you arrogant. They make you think you are invincible. The slave was there to ground the general in reality, to remind him that this glory is temporary, that he is just a man made of meat and bone, and soon he will be dust, just like everyone else. This practice was central to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote about death constantly in his journal. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He didn't say this to make himself sad. He said it to make himself present. He was surrounded by people trying to kill him. He was leading armies. He was dealing with plagues. He knew that death was not a distant possibility. It was a constant companion. Seneca, another great Stoic, wrote an essay called On the Shortness of Life. He argued that life is not short, we just waste most of it. He said, "We are not given a short life, but we make it short, and we are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it. Life is long if you know how to use it." Seneca saw people spending their time on trivial things, arguing over money, seeking fame, worrying about the future. He called them busy idlers, people who are busy doing nothing that matters. He said they live as if they are destined to live forever. They act as if they have an infinite supply of time. But if you knew you had 1 hour left to live, would you spend it arguing on the internet? Would you spend it worrying about a stain on your shirt? Of course not. You would focus on what is essential. You would tell your family you love them. You would watch the sunset. You would forgive your enemies. So the Stoic asks a simple question. If you wouldn't do it in your last hour, why are you doing it now? Why are you waiting for the doctor to give you a diagnosis before you start living? Why not live now as if the diagnosis has already been given? Because, in a way, it has.
So, why do we struggle with this so much? Why is our instinct to look away? Psychologists have a theory called terror management theory. It suggests that almost all human behavior is driven by an unconscious fear of death. We build skyscrapers to leave a legacy. We write books so our names will survive. We have children so a part of us lives on. We create religions that promise an afterlife. All of culture, art, science, politics is a giant defense mechanism against the terror of non-existence. We are the only animal that knows it is going to die. A dog lives in the eternal present. It doesn't worry about next Tuesday. But humans have the ability to time travel in our minds. We can see the future, and in that future, we see a gravestone with our name on it. This creates a fundamental conflict. We have a biological drive to survive, but an intellectual knowledge that survival is impossible. This cognitive dissonance creates anxiety, deep existential anxiety. So we repress it. We push it down into the subconscious. But as Carl Jung warned us, what you resist persists. When we repress the fear of death, it comes out sideways. It manifests as midlife crises. It manifests as greed. It manifests as addiction. We try to numb the fear with pleasure. We try to accumulate enough money to feel safe. We try to control everything around us because we can't control the one thing that matters. This is the irony. By trying to avoid death, we become afraid of life. We become risk-averse. We stay in safe jobs we hate. We stay in relationships that are dead. We don't travel. We don't speak our truth. Because to really live is to risk. To love someone is to risk losing them. To start a business is to risk failure. To be happy is to be vulnerable. And vulnerability feels like death to the ego. The ego wants to be permanent. It wants to be solid. But Memento Mori teaches us that the ego is an illusion. The Buddhists have a practice called sati, mindfulness of death. Monks would go to graveyards and meditate on decomposing bodies. They would watch the process of decay. This sounds horrific to us, but the goal was liberation. By staring at the reality of decay, they broke the attachment to the body. They broke the attachment to the self. They realized that they are not the body. They are the awareness observing the body. When you accept that you are temporary, a huge weight lifts off your shoulders. You realize that your embarrassing moments don't matter. Nobody will remember them in 100 years. You realize that your failures don't matter. The statues of the great kings are all broken in the sand. This is not nihilism. Nihilism says, nothing matters, so why bother? Memento Mori says, nothing lasts, so everything matters right now. It makes the present moment precious because it is fleeting. Think about a sunset. It is beautiful because it doesn't last. If the sun stayed in the same spot forever, we wouldn't even notice it. Life is beautiful because it ends. Scarcity creates value. If diamonds were as common as rocks, they would be worthless. Your time is the most scarce resource in the universe. You cannot buy more of it. You cannot save it. You can only spend it. And yet, we spend it like we are billionaires. We waste hours, days, weeks. Memento Mori is the accountant that comes in and says, "Hey, you are broke. Stop spending your time on things you don't value."
So, how do we apply this? How do we use death to improve our life without becoming depressed? We need to reframe our relationship with mortality. Exercise 1. The negative visualization. This is a classic Stoic technique. Take 5 minutes in the morning, close your eyes, and imagine losing the things you love. Imagine your house burning down. Imagine losing your job. Imagine your partner leaving you. Imagine your own death. Really feel it. Feel the grief. Feel the fear. Then, open your eyes. Look around. Your house is still there. Your partner is still there. You are still breathing. Suddenly, you feel a rush of gratitude. We take things for granted because we assume they will always be there. Negative visualization reminds us that they are on loan. When you realize your partner could die tomorrow, you don't get angry at them for leaving the dishes in the sink. You hug them a little tighter. You listen a little deeper. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to be happy. You realize this is the moment. Exercise 2. The eulogy test. Imagine you are at your own funeral. People are standing up to speak about you. What do you want them to say? Do you want them to say, "He had a really organized inbox. She watched every episode of that TV show. He made a lot of money"? Or do you want them to say, "He was kind. She was brave. He made us laugh. She changed my life"? Write down your own eulogy. Be honest. Then, look at your calendar for the last week. Does your calendar match your eulogy? Are you spending your time doing the things that will lead to those words being spoken? Or are you spending your time on things that won't even be mentioned? This creates clarity. It cuts through the noise of daily life. It helps you say no to the things that don't align with your legacy. Exercise 3. The 5-year countdown. Imagine a doctor tells you that you have 5 years to live. You'll be healthy for those 5 years, but then, lights out. What would you change? Would you stay in your current job? Would you stay in your current city? Would you finally write that book? Most people say they would make drastic changes. Now, why aren't you making those changes? Are you waiting for permission? Are you waiting for a guarantee that it will work out? There are no guarantees. The only guarantee is the end. Steve Jobs, in his famous Stanford commencement speech, said, "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life." He said that all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. He asked himself every morning in the mirror, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? If the answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew he needed to change something. This is the power of Memento Mori. It is a compass. When you get lost in the trivialities of life, when you get sucked into drama, death points you back to true north. It asks, does this matter? And usually, the answer is no. Death is the price of admission for life. It is the tax we pay for the privilege of existing. Do not resent the tax. Do not fear the bill collector. Instead, use the knowledge of the debt to enjoy the party. Eat the food, drink the wine, dance with your friends. Do not save the good china for a special occasion. Today is the special occasion. Do not save your love for a rainy day. Pour it out now. The Stoics tell us that we die every day. Every day that passes is a day that belongs to death. It is gone. We cannot get it back. So do not let today be a wasted day. Do not let it be a day of fear or anger or boredom. Fill it with life. Fill it with meaning. Fill it with presence. Because one day, the sun will set for the last time, and when it does, you want to be able to look back and say, I lived. Now, we have talked about the ultimate end of relationships, death. But most of our pain doesn't come from death. It comes from the messy, confusing, and painful ways we relate to people while we are alive. Why do we push people away? Why do we cling too tight? Psychologists have found that the way you loved as a child dictates how you love as an adult. If you want to understand why your relationships fail and how to fix your attachment style, click the video appearing on your screen now about attachment theory. I will see you there.